This happened about 15 years ago, during summer break, in a quiet Montana town where nights stretched long and silence felt heavier than it should. My best friend, Lena, and I were restless, bored out of our minds. It was midnight and the streets were deserted. No cars. No people. Just the sound of cicadas buzzing in the warm air. With nowhere to go, we did what any dumb teenagers would do: we went to the park. It was bigger than most. A wide, empty space with old wooden picnic tables, a dried-up creek, and a thick line of trees at the edge that always seemed darker than the rest of the night. The kind of place where shadows lingered too long and the wind never sounded quite right. At first, it was normal. We talked, laughed, kicked at the gravel beneath our feet. We were there for maybe an hour. Then, the air changed. It was sudden, like the world pressed pause. The cicadas stopped. The wind died. Even the distant hum of traffic from the highway just disappeared. That's when we heard it. The scream. It ripped through the silence, a sound that didn't belong in this world. It was like a woman being torn apart, but layered, two voices screaming at once. One sounded human. The other? Low. Twisted. Not right. And then, we saw it. Perched on top of a picnic table, hunched over like a gargoyle, was something. At first, I thought it was just some lunatic, some creep watching us from the dark. But then my eyes adjusted, and I saw them. Wings. Not hanging behind it like a cape. No, they were tucked in, shivering slightly, as if they were ready to spread wide at any second. And then, it moved. It stood up. And it just kept rising. 8 feet. Maybe more. The thing was massive, towering over the picnic table, its silhouette stretching against the dim glow of the streetlight. Then, it took a step toward us. We ran. Not the kind of running you do for fun, not the kind where you stop when your chest starts to burn. We ran like our lives depended on it. Because they did. I pushed my lungs to the max, sprinting until I couldn't breathe, until my throat burned, until my legs screamed for me to stop, but I didn't dare. We pounded on doors, begging for help. But no one opened up. Instead, they yelled through the walls. "Get the hell away from my house. I have a gun. I'll shoot." No one was going to save us. We were trapped outside, with it. And then, after what felt like a lifetime, we saw headlights. The cops. 2 officers, one white, one Latino. They took one look at us, sweaty, shaking, barely able to speak, and assumed we were on something. But the moment the Latino cop heard our story, his expression shifted. He laughed it off, acting like it was ridiculous, but his face told a different story. He knew something. And whatever he knew, he wasn't allowed to say. The cops didn't search the park. They didn't ask questions. They just put us in the squad car and drove us home. But I saw it in that officer's eyes. Fear. Cops don't scare easy. Weirdos? They handle that. Animals? No problem. But this? This was something else. To this day, I refuse to be outside alone at night. Not near parks. Not near the woods. Because I know. Some things are out there. And not all of them are human. I'll never forget the day I first set foot in that old house. It felt like the building was whispering secrets just for me. I was 18 when my family moved in, and even then, something was off. The house had a vibe like it was watching us, and it wasn't long before we started noticing little things that didn't add up. The creepiest part was this tiny closet tucked under the stairs that led down to the basement, the very same basement where my sisters and I ended up sleeping. None of us ever went near it because it just felt wrong, like it was hiding something we weren't meant to see. At first, it was little stuff, lights flicking on when we turned them off and doors creaking open on their own. But things got weirder as the nights went on. I'd try to sleep, and I'd be sure someone, or something, was in the room with me, watching me from the dark. Sometimes, I couldn't even move, completely frozen by fear. I remember one night when I was about 8. I couldn't sleep at all, so I decided to crash in my mom's room. I lay there until nearly 2 a.m., and just when I thought I'd finally drift off, I felt this intense, unexplainable gaze. Then, out of nowhere, my mom's old music box started playing by itself. I was terrified. I couldn't move or even call for help. The music stopped as quickly as it had started, and I ended up not sleeping a wink for the rest of the night. Things got so bad that my sisters and I eventually ditched our room for a creaky old couch upstairs. The atmosphere was so heavy that my mom eventually had to sell the house just to get away from it all. On our very last night there, my sister and I decided we'd had enough of being scared all the time. We ventured to that dreaded closet to see what was really going on. As soon as we rounded the corner, the door slammed shut on its own, and we bolted, terrified out of our minds. When we told our family, they just laughed it off, saying we'd let our imaginations run wild. It wasn't until years later that I found out the house had a real, dark history. The guy who built it, a reclusive old man, ended up dying there, and now it seems his restless spirit might still be hanging around. I never thought a simple morning in Maple Creek could turn so unsettling. It was a cool, crisp autumn day, the kind that makes you crave a hot cup of coffee and a moment of calm before facing the rush of the commute. I pulled up at the closest shopping mall I could find near the highway exit, planning to grab a bagel and some coffee to jumpstart my day. The parking lot was nearly empty, the only sounds the distant hum of a delivery truck and the rustling of leaves in the early light. I always park a little away from the entrance, enjoying that short, reflective walk to clear my head. As I slid into my car, I caught a glimpse of a small figure near the side of the cafe. At first, I figured it might be an employee opening up early, but then, heart pounding, I saw a young woman suddenly appear by my passenger window. Her hair was pulled back neatly, and her eyes held an intensity that felt both desperate and mysterious. In a calm, almost measured tone, she asked, "Could you give me a ride to Willow Glen?" I blinked in disbelief. Willow Glen was out of my usual route. I hesitated, my mind racing with questions. "I'm sorry, I'm not headed that way," I managed to say, though a chill was creeping up my spine. She didn't back off. Instead, she added, "But I need to get back to Maple Creek." It was a contradiction that made no sense. She was already here, wasn't she? With an uneasy mix of curiosity and caution, I got out of my car and headed toward the cafe, thinking that being among people might defuse the tension. Inside, I tried to shake off the encounter as I ordered my coffee and bagel, but my eyes kept darting to the window, half expecting to see her lurking outside. When I finally stepped back out, the parking lot had transformed into an almost eerie emptiness. Only my car and that distant delivery truck remained. The early sun was rising, casting long, unsettling shadows that made everything feel strangely unreal. Even now, every time I pass that mall, I remember that moment, the unexpected plea, her determined gaze, and the lingering mystery of why she'd been there. That morning left me questioning the thin line between everyday life and the inexplicable, a reminder that sometimes the most ordinary days hide the strangest secrets.